Welcome to the KingsTablePodcast, where we take a variety of social topics and injustices and put them on the table and discuss them as kings and queens. Now, today I'm going to tell you why me myself personally, don't associate with Black Lives Matter. And the first reason is because of the whole statement itself. Black Lives Matter. Like you're trying to convince someone of your importance, or you're trying to include yourself in someone else's world that they don't want you in. And me myself, I'm all for black people having their own. So Black Lives Matter is pretty much a plea to be included or, integrated into white America. They want to be treated as white people, something that they're not in white America, which is another problem on its own, but that's just my personal reason why I don't associate with Black Lives Matter. My number two reason will be because the organization is hijacking the movement. Now, what I mean by that is that I'm all for, you know, black people and black lives moving forward, but as their own organization. I don't feel like anyone else should benefit yet from black struggle if it's not black people as a whole. Not to take anything away from them, just call it what it is and do what it says it is. And that's where the organization and the movement kind of collide, because yeah, they're fighting for black lives and the better for black people, but it's not centered around that, even though the name suggests so. And that leads me into my third problem, which is that it doesn't promote black male masculinity enough for me. You know, I get that there is another community that's, also fighting for rights, which is all the more reason that these topics and these battles should be separated, because some of the things they're fighting for, I don't associate with myself at all. And some of the things I'm fighting for, they don't associate at all. So my thing is to just keep them separate, keep it straightforward. Black Lives Matter should be specifically for that, Black Lives. And if you go on that website, which I'll do here in a little bit, and show you the things that I do agree with and I don't agree with, I'm going to do that. And that's coming straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And my fourth reason would be because I feel like it's a more modern version of Jim Crow. No, not Jim Crow, I'm sorry. Willie Lynch. If you know what the Willie Lynch letters are, you'll know that it was a speech that was given to slave owners that taught the slave owners a theory or a way how to keep their slaves even longer. And I feel like that's what's being implemented through these type of movements. Not so to speak Black Lives Matter, which I do believe it is, but many more that are out there as well. Now, with that being said, those are my reasons why I don't associate with it. Why I do like Black Lives Matter, and what I do like about them is that, they're bringing awareness to a problem that's wrong, even though that may not be their only focal point, but they're bringing more awareness to black problems. It's becoming, you know, well known that of the injustices black people go through on a daily basis. And it has the resources to actually make a change, to actually make the changes that's needed. But instead of really using them to really change the community, they use them for whoever or whatever personal agenda. And I say that because if you're from these communities, what they so to speak trying to fix or want, to raise up, you know that it takes the heads of those communities to change anything. So the community itself has to change itself. If the OGs, Ray Ray and Poncho from the hood don't want to change, they just want to keep selling bricks, then it is what it is. That's what they're going to teach. That's how they're going to make their money and so on and so forth. Not to not be Ray Ray and Poncho from the hood. It's just that if this is really something what we're going to pursue, let's pursue it the correct way. We know the influences of the community. We know the people who, so to speak, do or don't cause the crime in the community. We gotta weed them out ourselves instead of waiting for the outsiders to come in and clean up our mess. You get what I'm saying? So that's something that needs to be reinforced into the black community is responsibility, which Black Lives Matter is lacking in that department. They're quick to point the finger at this person, that person, the white man, policeman, the law. But let's be real, man. We put ourselves in situations sometimes too that we could clearly avoid. That we just feel like we're invincible or whatever the law don't apply to us. Not all of us, so to speak. Not saying that some of these instances are justified. I believe none of the ones that are mainstream that I've seen are justified. But I'm saying, me speaking from a personal experience and from some things that I've seen my friends and personal friends, fail to see, we could avoid a lot of things ourselves and we can change and make a lot of change ourselves without, a community. But we have to support each other's change. We have to support each other's movements, whatever that may be, you know. And like I say, real change it starts from within. And with further ado, let me get into my proof. I'm gonna take you to Black Lives Matter website, and we're gonna go through the list, and we're gonna discuss. Well, I'm gonna tell you what we believe. And let me read along. I'll just read what I do or don't like out loud. One second. One second. Okay. 4 years ago, what is now known as Black Lives Matter Global Network began to organize. It started as a chapter-based, member-led organization whose mission was to build local power and intervene with violence was inflicted on black communities by the state and vigilantes. Speaking about Trayvon Martin and Joe Zimmerman. In the years since, we've committed to struggling together and to imagining and creating a world free of anti-blackness where every black person has the social, economic, and political power to thrive. I agree wholeheartedly with that. I'm so for that. But I also believe that for black people or the black community to have political party, they must also have a community of their own themselves. And when I say community, I mean a community that's not controlled or not influenced by other communities, or not have them so close together, so to speak, and policed by themselves. So let's keep reading. Black Lives Matter began as a action in response to the state-sanctioned violence to anti-black racism. So our intention from the very beginning was to connect black people from all over the world who have shared desire for justice to act together in their communities. The impetus for that commitment was and still is the rampant and deliberate violence inflicted on us by the state. Now, let me get this straight. Racism doesn't just exist. Racism doesn't just exist between state and black people. No. Racism is everywhere. Black people get the shit of this end of the stick everywhere. From every race. So it's not just white people or police officers or just the justice system that's racist towards us. You got Puerto Ricans that be racist towards us. Mexicans be racist towards us. Asians be racist towards us. No matter how close to our skin color or how close they may look like one of us, they don't want to be associated with us. Which is fine. It's perfectly fine in my eyes. But I'm just saying that it's not just a problem that just exists between black people and white people. And yeah, that's where I just needed to clarify that it's not just between the state and black people. It's from everyone, you know. Then they talk about Trayvon Martin. I don't even want to talk about that because that's my home city. And being from the city Trayvon was killed in, I know for a fact that things not like Trayvon, but police been killing us way before then. We've been there's been murders way before then that didn't get the type of national coverage that it should have, like Trayvon. So, you know, no disrespect from Trayvon and his family, R.I.P. to Trayvon, but I know people, and I've lost people that died way more gruesome, under way more, you know, worse circumstances than Trayvon. Not to take nothing away from R.P. Trayvon. So to move on, I'm gonna scroll down a little bit to the parts where I don't agree, because with all of that, I pretty much agree with. Now, here is the part where I start to raise my eyebrows, where they say we are unapologetically black in our position. In affirming that Black Lives Matter, we need to not qualify our position, to love and desire freedom and justice for ourselves, and a prerequisite for wanting the same for others. And that's where it sounds like they're pleading to be a part of something that don't want them to be a part of it. They're pleading to be white privileged when they're not actually white privileged. They're pleading for some type of handout. And as kings and queens, we shouldn't align ourselves to want to take handouts. Now, if the people that did us wrong felt like they needed to right their wrong, they would have by now. It's us as it's up to us as people to move forward, and not to say let bygones be bygones, but know that the people that wronged us are not going to right that wrong willingly, at least. And protesting, marching, starting little movements like this, yeah, it sounds good, it looks good, but at the end of the day, it's gonna be the same thing what's going on. We have to build ourselves together on our own. We can't expect Donald Trump to know what's best for black people or how to help black people when he never been black a day in his life. I don't know what's best for white people. I never been white, so I can't sit here and tell a man, oh yeah, he don't do enough for black people because he president of the United States and such and such. It don't matter what status you is. You don't know what black people been through unless you've been black yourself. And I'm gonna just throw this out here. People gonna bring up Obama, and I'm just like, Obama was probably one of the worst presidents we ever had, but we give him a pass because hey, he was black, so we support him blindly, no matter what it is. Even though we have a new president today that's done more for the black community than Obama has, I hate to say it, but it is what it is. Facts are the facts, you know. And I'm not political at all. My position on politics is until the people that's been denounced from society that still has to live by societal rules are fully implemented back into society as citizens and not slaves to the state, I will always be anti-political. I don't support Donald. I don't support any party, or so to speak. Me, I'm just for my black people. You know, to be more specific, the people who are the descendants of slaves. Not all black people want justice for us, because you gotta think that with the Willie Lynch speech, black people was attacking their own, anyways. And this is let me finish up on Black Lives Matter. So besides that, we see ourselves as part of the global black family. Okay. And we are aware of this different we are aware of the different ways we are impacted or privileged as black people who exist in different parts of the world. Okay? We are guided by the fact that all black lives matter, regardless of actual or perceived sexual identity. That's where I have my problem. Because that goes to speak on exactly what I was just talking about. A white person can't know what's best for a black person, you know, because a white person don't know what a black man have to go through. They could get a understanding of what a black man go through, but they can't never get that full feel unless they themselves are black. A woman can't raise a man without any male influences. Let's just get that out of the way. And that was something else that in the Willie Lynch letters, which ties directly to this. You know, they wanted to break up the man, the black man, and the black woman household to weaken them, because if they're not producing, then the race is slowly becoming the minority, and slowly, eventually, will die off because there's no seeds being reproduced. Because regardless of actual perceived identity or gender expression, that race can't continue. So how can you be for black lives when in your movement in what you believe, you actually believe in killing black lives or not furthering black lives or not having black lives thrive in the future. Hmm? You can't be like, okay, I'm pro life, I'm just anti creating life. When you as a woman, that's your, well, I'm not gonna say your duty, but that's your gift to the planet, to give back to the planet, to keep your race thriving, to keep the human race thriving. Now, don't get me confused. I love white people. I have plenty of multiracial friends, and I'm not by any means racist. I can't be. So, what I'm getting to is Black Lives Matter is the only movement of such. No other race felt the need to scream and cry and make a movement called Black Lives Matter. They just got their shit together and moved the fuck on, built themselves up even stronger. Look at the Jews, look at the Indians. Of course, the difference in between us and them is that they got reparations. But we've been here and learned enough to where we don't need their reparations. We don't need any more of their knowledge. What we need is just to unify. Instead of going out and marching and begging to be part of a world that doesn't want you, go and create your own. Yeah, you can do that. You can do that. Slim Thug, he's done that. He's built communities in Texas. It's not like you have to go and buy a whole new country. No, just be smart with how you do things and how you spend your money and how you decide to build. Now, to give you a little bit about me, from the moment I started this media and recording, I always had the mindset that I would never sign to a majors. Not to take anything away from people that do. It's just that me, I always had a passion in creating. I always had a passion in making something, no matter what it may be, whether it be a house, the studio, whatever. You know, I always wanted to create. So I started out writing poems when I was about 9, 10 years old. And then I started making beats and Fruity Loops when I was like 13, 14. And then I first got into the studio when I was 15. And ever since then, I decided to learn music. So I went to school for recording arts when I was 19. And I learned how to record my craft and how to record videos. So then I took it on to actually learn how to make movies and shoot movies, so on and so forth. So what I'm saying is, it's like what I'm getting into is we could learn the tools we need to build our community, to provide the resources it'll need, and provide for the people. We just need the American government to just get out our way and let us do it. Because we know we can do it. They know we can do it. We just need them to get on out the way and let us do it. Because no matter what we build, we still won't be able to protect it because we don't have aircrafts, we don't have submarines, we don't have tanks and military forces. So every time we have built in the past, it's been destroyed. What we asking for, what this whole Black Lives Matter movement should be about, is just get up out the way. Let us do us. You know, all this would come with building our own. No, for no reason we should be fighting for transgender or gender equality when we're fighting to be black. That's all second shit. You know, and that's just where I'm at with Black Lives Matter. So I'm gonna get off this topic for I hurt too many people's feelings. I'm still trying to build this channel, but I gotta get my perspective out on how I really view this whole situation. And next, why I feel like Black Lives Matter is detrimental to the black community is because it's in a way the same thing as what Willie Lynch speaks of, which is, the William Lynch speech is an address purportedly delivered by a certain William Lynch to an audience of the bank of the James River in Virginia 1712 regarding the control of slaves within the colony. The letter purports to be a verbatim account of a short speech given by a slave owner in which he tells slave masters that he has discovered the secret to controlling black slaves by setting them against one another. The document has been in print since 1790, but the first gained widespread notice in 1990s when it appeared on the internet. Since then, it's been promoted as an authentic account of slavery during the 18th century, though its inaccuracies and anachronisms have led historians to conclude that it's a hoax. Now, how could that be a hoax when that's what's clearly going on today? The reputed author William Lynch, identified as the master of a modest plantation in the British West Indies, who has been summoned to the Virginia colony by local slave owners to advise them on problems they have began having in managing their slaves, aka they were starting to rebel, they were starting to revolt. He briefly notes that their current violent methods of handling unruly slaves lynching, though the terms is not used, is inefficient and counterproductive. Instead, he suggests that he adopt a method which he consists of exploiting differences such as age and skin color in order to pit slaves against each other. Hmm? So that don't sound like the old heads that be hating on the young generation coming up. That don't sound like the young generation not listening to the old heads taking on their knowledge and not saying that they haters or they hating on them, or because they might not be financially stable as one would see themselves. They won't take the advice what that person's trying to give because of their financial status. That sounds exactly like the Willie Lynch theory to me. You know, this method he assures his host will control slaves for at least 300 years. Some online versions of the text attach introductions such as a Ford attributed to Frederick, Frederick Douglass, or a citation falsely giving Lynch's name as a source for the word lynching. Hmm? Or is that just a hoax or a theory too? You know. So let's look at the word lynching and why I associated Willie Lynch, this Willie Lynch theory, to Black Lives Matter. When you look at the word lynch and lynching, it's a premeditated, extrajudicial killing by a group. It is most often used to characterize informal public executions by a mob in order to punish an alleged transgressor or punish a convicted transgressor or intimidate. It can also be an extreme form of informal group social control. Hold on, let's bring it up, shall we? Social control and is often conducted with the display of a public spectacle, often in the form of hanging for maximum intimidation. Instances of lynching and similar mob violence can be found in every society. Even today, when you look at George Floyd, you look at Trayvon Martin, you look at Eric Gardner, you look at Rashard Brooks, you look at Mike Brown, how Black Lives Matter only come out when these instances happen because they're the people that's sitting there and giving the public spectacle for maximum intimidation. That's why I can't get behind the plea of saying Black Lives Matter. You think the Zulu warriors will go and asking and begging, oh, let me be black. Oh, I just want to be black. No, they took that. They owned that. You know, Marcus Garvey wasn't asking to be black. Frederick Douglass wasn't asking to be black. None of these people was asking to be black. They took that. And nobody gave them the right. They took that. So, my whole point of this video really is to convince us to do better. Simply that. Stop hating on each other. Stop tearing each other down. If your mama didn't teach you, if you can't say nothing nice, don't say nothing wrong, then goddamn, she fucked up. So I'm gonna teach you niggas. If you can't say nothing nice, don't say nothing at all when it comes to black people right now. Stop posting the ignorant videos. That's not what's needed. We don't need a distraction right now. It's cool to laugh, but right now, we got serious matters at hand. You get what I'm saying? It's been 400 years. You know? And they still killing us at will. And that's just my perspective on why I don't associate myself personally with Black Lives Matter. Now, what you decide to do, that's on you. But this is the King's Table Podcast, a reminder that knowledge is the key to the universe. Remember, think with greatness.